Welcome to the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. I'm a former brick and mortar store owner turned retail expert who is passionate about entrepreneurship and has experienced the highs and lows of running a retail business. Whether you're a seasoned retail veteran or an aspiring store owner, consider me your guide on this store owning journey. If you're looking to run a profitable and growing business that doesn't drain you, follow my 6 stages of shopkeeping and subscribe to this show. Join me for a journey of continuous learning where protecting your mind, maximizing profit, and determining your own schedule are a priority. Get ready to work smarter, profit more, and grow your retail business. Welcome to episode 230 of the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast, 5 ways to increase inventory entry efficiency. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. My intention for this episode is to help anyone who manually enters inventory into their inventory systems. Plain and simple, what I want to do here is save you time. I've done several episodes about inventory management, like episode 20. That was titled Why Inventory Management is Important. We will link it in the show notes. And if you're a Master Shopkeepers member, there's an entire module dedicated to inventory management. There are lessons on pricing, on dead inventory, on inventory turn and how to calculate it, plus lots of stuff in between. It's packed with lessons. When you have a store that is constantly adding new SKUs to inventory, it can be a challenge to keep up. And if you're a gift shop or a home decor store, you're all shaking your heads like, yes, Kathy, yes, it takes up so much of my time. Now, some retailers don't have this problem. Some of you sell mostly the same set of SKUs. You reorder those items, but you aren't necessarily adding hundreds of new SKUs annually. But there are lots of store owners who do. And if it isn't you, count yourself lucky in this sense, because you don't have this time problem, I should say, of constantly having to add and enter new items into your inventory system. It's a strength too for those store owners. They constantly have fresh and new inventory for their customers to pick from. And oftentimes for that type of store, customers love it because they get to come in every week or every 2 weeks and find something new. So for those of you, for example, that attend markets like Atlanta, Vegas, Dallas, the whole list, and you order a variety of new items every time you go on a buying trip, well, when you get back to the shop, all those new items and those SKUs have to be entered into inventory. I am talking to you for this episode. And this was the case for the store I co-owned with my sister. We had some staple items, like the whole entire paint line we carried, unless, of course, they had a new collection that came in, and then we would have to enter that into the system. We had private labeled candles that we constantly reordered. So all we had to do was update the quantities when we received new shipments. It was other than that, though, it was a constant flow of new items. Now, while this can be fun for a buyer and store owner, it's quite a bit of work, whether it's that you have someone on the team who handles that or it's you doing that, depending on where you are on the shopkeeping journey. So in today's episode, I want to cover some tips for ways to increase efficiency for this process. Because some of you think that every single item has to be entered manually, and that may not be the case. You may not realize that there are other ways to improve this, what I call time suck of entering inventory. So let's get started. Number 1, are you checking for duplicates? So this is really important because let's say, for example, you order an item, it quickly sells out and you reorder more, but somebody on your team doesn't realize that it's a reorder. Do you have a system in place or a procedure in place that tells your team that this is a reordered item? That way, the only thing you have to do is update the quantity. And this may seem obvious to some of you, but is this obvious to new team members who are helping you enter inventory? Make sure there's a rule documented in your process that guides them to check and see if the item is already in your inventory system. If it is, it's just a matter of updating the quantity and maybe the cost, and you're good to go. But you want to avoid having duplicate items in your inventory, and you also want to avoid the time it takes to enter these duplicate items. The more clean, what I call it, clean inventory data you have, the better. Number 2 is, can you use the purchase orders feature in your point of sale and inventory system? So a purchase order is a document that a business sends to a supplier to authorize a purchase. Purchase orders can help businesses save time with inventory by making it easier to track inventory and maintain inventory records. So purchase orders help you keep track of what products should be arriving at your store. You can then match those products against the invoices to check for accuracy, so you know exactly what's happening with your incoming inventory. I could do a full episode on this topic, but for the sake of keeping this episode short and sweet, this process is something to consider. So what I'm going to tell you for now is, if you're like, okay, Kathy, I don't really understand how purchase orders work, you're going to want to go to your point of sale systems help articles. Normally you can search that. You'll type in purchase orders, and then you should get some instructions on how to utilize this feature in your system. This is going to be a case-by-case basis. So you're, again, depending on how you do this, on what your point of sale system is, and on what you find in the help article, that'll be the best way to determine if this is something that you can use. Quite a few Master Shopkeepers members use purchase orders, and it does make life easier for them. Or maybe I should say business easier for them. Number 3, does a bulk upload make sense? And this means using a spreadsheet to upload into your system. Now, depending on who the vendor is that you're ordering from, sometimes they give you what we call a CSV file. It's essentially a spreadsheet, and it's a spreadsheet of your order. Or sometimes you can ask your vendors if they can provide this. So once you get the spreadsheet, it can be really incredibly helpful. If you think about it, let's say, for example, if you order 100 items from a vendor, you know how long that would take to manually enter all of those items. Well, what I would recommend instead is get the spreadsheet from your vendor and use that to learn how to upload in bulk into your inventory system. Sometimes that is an option, but we don't even look into it. We don't research it. We just go ahead and enter in one item at a time. Yes, there's time invested in formatting the spreadsheet sometimes, because what happens is your point of sale system will have a template that they want you to use. That way, when you upload the information into the system, it matches the fields in the inventory system. So you might have to get the spreadsheet from the vendor and tweak it a little bit to make it match the template before you upload it into your system. Some of you are cringing right now, especially if you don't use spreadsheets, but some of you know exactly what I'm talking about and may not realize that a bulk upload, especially on a really big order, is something that you can do with your inventory system. It may feel clunky when you go to do it the first time around, but it's a skill that can improve over time, and you'll get faster with it, or your team members will get faster with it. This episode is brought to you by Master Shopkeepers, my mastermind group for brick and mortar retail store owners. If you're craving support, connection, inspiration, and motivation for your retail business, apply to join us. It doesn't matter what stage of shopkeeping you're in. What matters is your drive to work less, profit more, and grow, both personally and professionally. Learn more at savvyshopkeeper.com/group membership. That's savvyshopkeeper.com/group membership, all one word. So this is another time where I will recommend that you go to the help articles for your point of sale and inventory system. Oftentimes they're the same, but sometimes you have a point of sale system and then a separate inventory system. So wherever you need to go to search for help in articles, you'll do the same thing. You might type in bulk upload and see what articles come up and see if this is something that's a good fit for you. Imagine if you didn't have to enter in manually 100 items that you order from a vendor. It would save you so much time. So, this won't be a good fit for all of you, but for some of you, you'll consider why you didn't do this sooner. Number 4 is, if you order from Fair, this applies to you. Can you integrate with Fair? Can your system integrate with Fair? So if you order from Fair Wholesale, this is something that I would say you'd want to consider. And if you don't know this, Fair integrates with several point of sale systems. For instance, I know it integrates with Square and Shopify. And that means you can connect your Fair account to your Square or Shopify account. And when you place an order, your items get added to your system automatically. So imagine if you're buying from 20, 30, 40 different vendors during like Fair's summer market, which is a big event online, and you have all these orders coming in. Well, are you taking those orders, printing out the paper order, and then going to your inventory system and entering each of those items one at a time? You may not have to do that. If you integrate and connect the two, it's going to automatically happen for you. Again, you're saving a lot of time. When you have an integration like this and it automatically adds all of the incoming inventory into your inventory system, that is an example of an automation. And it's funny, I often ask in Master Shopkeepers, what is automated in your business? And no one ever mentions this one, but this is an example of an automation where you aren't manually entering things in, it automatically happens for you. And I guess because they don't mention it, this is an example of a situation where it is a really great automation because they aren't even thinking of it when I ask the question. It gets done for them and they don't even have to think about it. Now, I want to add a disclaimer. When the integration first launched, this was years ago, it was not perfect. I remember we had some issues with it when it was connected to our Square system, and we ended up turning it off. But what I'm hearing from Master Shopkeepers members now is that it's much better than what it used to be. And I can't remember why, but something was throwing off my inventory when I did have it connected. The good thing to know is everyone is saying that this has improved over time, and many store owners are now using the integration, and rightly so. We're talking about saving time and frustration in today's episode. So by all means, utilize this integration, at least test it and see if it works for you. A couple of things that people did mention is that when the listing gets pulled into your inventory system for that particular product, sometimes you want to take a look at the description for the product and you might want to reword it, because if you think about it, when you're shopping on Fair's website, it's written for you, the buyer. And then when it brings the product description into your website and then it shows on your online shop, it's actually written for someone who's buying the products directly from the vendor. So you want to reword the description so it's a better fit for customers shopping from you. So that's one thing to consider. And then the other thing to consider is, let's say, for example, you're buying items that are actually maybe a cost of good. You're using it to make a product, or you're using it to offer a workshop in your store that ends up in the final product that the customer gets, or it's a display piece, so it's an operating expense. You want to make sure that if that's the case, if you're ordering those kinds of items, that you just kind of do a review and then delete those items from your system, so it doesn't appear as an item that you're going to resell to your customers in your online shop. And then the fifth one is barcode scanning. If a product you buy has an existing barcode or SKU label on it, do you know that you can scan the barcode and that populates the information into your inventory system? Now, it may not be the case with all of your point of sale systems or your inventory systems, but this is another one that I'm going to tell you to research. This is a situation where you're going to want to check the help articles again and see if you can do this. Because again, if you think about it, how much more convenient will it be If you get, 2 boxes of items, they already have SKUs on them, you scan it, and then that adds all of the information into your inventory system. You might have to tweak some things and click save, but it's going to save you minutes on each product that you would normally enter in manually. I don't think many shop owners know that this is an option with some systems, but be sure to research. So it's time to wrap up this episode. I personally know how time consuming, boring, and brutal data entry can be, especially when you're entering in hundreds of new items into an inventory system. It was honestly my least favorite task to do until I handed it off to my nephew, and I was so happy when he took over. When he took over the entire inventory intake process, we started it in stages. He started by unpacking things, delabeling items, and then he started by adding inventory into the system. We even got him to a place where he was pricing on his own. So it was a process. It was quite a bit of training to get him there, but in the end, I handed all of it off to him and it was fantastic. I don't want you to think that manual entry is the only way. I genuinely hope that this podcast episode saves you time, gives you some aha moments, and that you're messaging me on Instagram or sending me an email and saying, oh my gosh, Kathy, thank you so much, especially before Q4, especially as so many of you are getting dozens and dozens of boxes or pallets full of boxes that have, sometimes dozens or hundreds of products in it. So if you do find that this saves you time, if you do find another way to automate or make entry of inventory easier, please message me and let me know. You can always DM me on Instagram. My username is @SavvyShopkeeper. If you found this podcast episode, please share it with a retail business friend or leave me a rating and a review on Apple Podcast. And if you want to see the show notes for this episode or find links to anything I mentioned, you can visit my blog at savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 230. That's savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 230. Until the next episode, be savvy and boss up.